extend a very warm welcome to Dr. Dharminder Singh Ubha, Principal, Khalsa College, Patiala, Ms. Sirjandeep Kaur Ubha, author of the book To Skies and Waters, Ms. Shalini Verma, Senior Television Journalist, Dr. Kashmir Singh, Director Principal, Mata Gujri College, Dr. Harveen Kaur, Head, Department of English, Professor Satpreet Kaur, Dean Students, Girls, faculty members of Mata Gujri College, and students to this book review session. Today, we have invited a very young, dynamic, and budding author, Ms. Sirjandeep Kaur. She has authored 3 books, and today, Ms. Shalini Verma would review her recent book, To Skies and Waters, which has gained much acclaim from all sections, especially the youth. Ms. Sirjan would later interact with the students and talk about her experiences, her inspiration, motivation while writing this book. Through this program, we endeavor to provide a platform for our students to interact with the author directly. This would inculcate in them interest in literature and reading. Not taking much time, I call upon Dr. Harveen Kaur, Head, Department of English, to formally welcome the guests. Dr. Harveen Kaur.
Good morning, everyone. On behalf of Director Principal Dr. Kashmir Singh, PG Department of English, and Office of the Dean Student Girls, Mata Gujri College, Sahib, I extend a warm welcome to Dr. Dharminder Singh Ubha, Principal, Khalsa College, Patiala, my Principal, Dr. Kashmir Singh, and I extend warm welcome to Ms. Shalini Verma, our esteemed guest for today's book review session. Ms. Shalini will be diving deep into the book titled To Skies, to Waters by describing, critically analyzing, and evaluating on the quality and meaning and significance of the book. I also extend a hearty welcome to a young budding writer, Ms. Sirjandeep Kaur Ubha, who has beautifully penned To Skies, to Waters. Many of you may already know her by name. Ms. Sirjandeep is becoming one of the most prolific writers, and her books have a tremendous impact on young minds, leading to more balanced personal and professional lives. I also welcome all the faculty members, my colleagues and participants, and I'm sure this interactive session will be very inspiring and motivating for all of us. Once again, welcome to all of us who are here, and over to Dr. Gauri Handa.
Now I call upon Professor Satpreet Kaur to take over.
Good day to all of you. We have amongst us a young writer, Ms. Sirjandeep Kaur Ubha, and while I was reading her biodata, I felt that in the internet age, who would imagine a student of class 10 to be an author? But that is who Sirjandeep became at the age of 16, with a first book of poems titled Whispers of the Heart. Clearly, Sirjandeep's writing impulse was so strong that she could not wait to do it till she grew up. 4 years later, she wrote another one, and this time a novel titled The Triumph. She graduated from Delhi University in Commerce and went to the London School of Economics to do her Masters in Human Resources. For about 2 years, she has been working with GFB Foods as a culture and people manager. And this seems like an interesting job. With 3 books under her belt, At just 26, Sirjandeep is obviously an inspired and inspiring writer. My compliments to her for the remarkable spirit. Her novel, To Skies and Waters, appears on Amazon's top 100 hot releases. What I found particularly impressive about the novel was Sirjandeep's handling of the subject of human psychology through the experiences of its protagonists. It would be interesting to ask Sirjandeep about the motivation behind this, but before that, let us hear what the reviewer of the book has to say about it. Now, I would like to introduce our other guest of the day, Ms. Shalini Verma, who very kindly consented to review the book and also agreed to join. Shalini is a senior broadcast journalist, having 15 years of experience in television and radio journalism. She was part of the launching team of Lok Sabha Television in the year 2006, where she worked for 13 years. She has interviewed eminent writers, thinkers, scientists, and political leaders, largely for Lok Sabha Television. At present, she does multiple assignments with All India Radio and Vigyan Prasar, which is also about science communication. Besides, she's working as senior editor in the Union Information and Broadcasting Ministry's New Media Wing. Now, over to Shalini for more about the book.
Thank you, Satpreet. Thank you, teachers, Director Principal, Dr. Kashmir Singh, and the administration staff and students of Mata Gujri College, Fatehgarh Sahib. I'm sure it's a wonderful opportunity for all of us to connect and talk about writing, art, and creativity. And I'm happy to be a part of this gathering today. I'll read out my review of the novel first, and then I'm sure we can have a little talk, a little conversation over the content of the book. To Skies and Waters, the book by the young author Sirjandeep Kaur Ubha, begins as uneventfully as the story of its protagonist. Avira is a woman student who has just graduated from Delhi University and is heading to Scotland to pursue a master's degree. She comes from a close-knit Punjabi family, the cultural flavors of Punjab being evident in the way Punjabi parents commonly address their daughters as beta instead of beti. Of course, having and offering parathas to a fellow passenger at the airport are part of the lively nature of most Punjabis. So before leaving the shores, Avira travels to Delhi to meet her college friends. She's attracted to a stranger she meets fleetingly in the train and spends the rest of her journey thinking about him. In Delhi, her meetings and partings with her college friends, teachers, and canteen staff have the familiar ring of emotions of hope and fear most young people experience at the turning points of life. Curiosity into Avira's story begins to develop once she reaches Glasgow. It is interesting to watch the young woman navigate her emotional and practical path in a foreign country where she has no friends or relatives, not to speak of the cultural contrast she is bound to stumble upon in an international student setting. Her flatmates, who later become great friends, include a gay couple. The comfort with which Avira views their intimacy and the pubs and bars she visits almost as soon as landing in Scotland give the reader a peep into the lifestyle of the young in India. Are the educated women of today not shackled by taboos of any kind? Is getting tipsy in strange company or being tucked in bed in a drunken state by a strange man a normal feature of the lives of the Google generation of Indian women? Is it a trend even in Indian campuses? Do parents find such things agreeable? Now, these are the questions which keep the reader engaged. Meanwhile, the man she had met in the train to Delhi, Aryan, turns out to be a PhD student in medicine at the same college. And after a few chance meetings, the two become close. Her emotional journey depicts her as an ordinary woman of simple ambitions. All Avira wants is a good degree and Aryan, who makes her feel secure and loved. In fact, she seems to be in a hurry to receive and give intense love. The title of the book is a reflection of that craving, as becomes evident when, on a trip to the city of love, that is Paris, she expresses the vastness of her love that stretches from the skies and the waters to Aryan in her arms. Unabashed in expressing her feelings for Aryan, Avira talks about the impact of his first kiss on her and shares with the reader many moments of intimacy with him. But the sensual scenes largely remain a suggestion, which helps to retain the romantic thread running through the book. The bold and outgoing Avira takes the reader on a trip not just to Paris, but also to Iceland to watch the Northern Lights. It is against such scenic backdrops of Europe that Avira's romantic nature blooms to its fullest. Aryan, however, remains an elusive figure. Just like her friends, even the reader is kept guessing about him till the very end. It is the suspense Avira builds around him that adds a thrilling twist to the ordinary romance. He is with her from the library to the cafe, from the Eiffel Tower to her bed, but Aryan's personality remains in the shadows. The reader wants to know him, independent of Avira's feelings, at least after tragedy strikes her. Avira meets with a terrible road accident and goes into a coma. The reader waits to see Aryan around her, hoping that his very touch would bring her out of coma. She is shifted from Glasgow to India, first in a hospital, later to her home, while the family and doctors wait for Providence to bring her out of coma. There is no sign of Aryan even after Avira comes out of coma, and she goes through a second trauma of not seeing or hearing from him. The fact that he never turns up makes her story tragic. The reader feels her pain till the end. The betrayal is extraordinary, but neither Avira nor the reader knows whether Aryan is the culprit. One is compelled to tread the anxious path along with Avira to the discovery of the villain. The element of suspense keeps the reader hooked to the book till the end. No less engaging is Avira's struggle with her mind following the double trauma. It takes her a second visit to the Glasgow College and rejoining the master's course to pick the pieces of her life and put them together. Does Avira find love only to lose it? Why? Did she do the right thing by making him larger than life and anchoring all her hopes on him? For answers to these questions, you need to read the book. In the final analysis, To Skies and Waters is a teasing tale of love, suspense, and tragedy. Sirjandeep's book makes captivating reading and would lend itself comfortably to a silver screen adaptation, provided the psychological aspects are handled subtly and the mystery is sustained till the climax. Congratulations on writing a novel that has an obvious appeal to the young, but one that even older people would find engaging.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Shalini. When I asked Shalini about her first impressions of the book, she said, it is a book by a young person for the young. That indeed is a striking feature of the book. I too, on reading the novel, To Skies and Waters, felt that it is indeed very engaging for all age groups, and I'm sure that our youth would like to read the novel, and audience is keen to know more about Avira from the creator of Avira. So I invite Ms. Sirjandeep to tell us what inspired her to write this novel. Over to Ms. Sirjandeep.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Satpreet, for having me here. And thank you so much, Shalini, for your review, such honest review. Talking about this book, see, mental health has been something that has been very, very close to my heart, especially because in my prime time of growing up, I saw so many cases around me of people finding their way to love themselves. You know, that was the biggest problem. And especially when we are growing up, we tend to we tend to connect with people, we tend to build those intimate relationships, and we kind of long for them. We feel if we do not have it, it means there's something lacking in us. So while growing up, I saw a lot of cases of people, of young girls and even boys, feeling that life is nothing without having a partner or having a boyfriend or having a girlfriend to date. And there are cases of young breakups and everything, and then they feel like they've lost their self-worth, they've lost their identity, so to say. So I felt that it needed to be talked about, and it's not even restricted to that particular age. I think this emotion, this feeling is such that anyone falls into the grip of such feelings. So last year, something similar to a very close friend happened, and I got really affected. I was like, this is not done. You need to talk about it. And especially when she went out and spoke with her parents were really supportive of what she was saying and the feelings that she was going through. I was like, I need to talk about it. And most of the people, they say, oh, you know what, mental health is very important. Or you know what, we should talk to each other. You know what, we should go to a therapist. So people talk a lot about it, but they really not act on it. And there was a time I was sitting in my office, and I was going through a major writer's block. I was not able to write anything. And there was a time I was sitting, I opened up my laptop and suddenly started penning down a lot of things from my life, from the lives that's been around that. As if you notice, I've written about Switch College. I've written about those canteen people because those things are very close to me. And when you write, there are instances from your own life and from the lives of others that you probably want to put into life. That's how I started talking about it, because I was inspired from the people around me and from this topic, mental health, which I felt was needed to be out there, especially in the youth. Because, they say a life lived for others is a life worthwhile. But I say if you can't live your life for yourself, I hardly doubt that you'll be able to live it for others as well. So that's how the journey kind of started, because even I was going through a writer's block and it kind of got me out of it. And I talked about it. I wrote all the little instances that probably a person can feel in his life or in her life. And that's how this book was kind of born. And it took me a year to finally get it published. I always dreamt of getting it published from a good resource, because this book I wanted to be reached in masses. So it took me a year to finally, for this book to finally see the light of the day. And yes, that's how To Skies and Waters was born. And To Skies and Waters also because I am a very big fan of beaches, and I somehow
Good morning, ma'am.
Hi, good morning. To Skies and Waters primarily because I myself find a lot of peace with water and with sky, and I wanted to name it To Skies and Waters, and it actually blended in very well with the story. So that's how this kind of story went out and came out and saw the light of the day. Yeah.
Is that all, Sirjan, or you would like to add something?
I mean, it's just a general message to everyone to start realizing the importance of self-love, and a message to all the young people and even that when they do speak with their kids, they need to realize that this topic is very, very sensitive, and everyone needs to handle it in a very good position, so to say, because even talking about the general problems that we face in a life. When a kid comes to you and says, Mama, I have a severe headache, can you please help? We say, oh, Pacha, please take a medicine. And when a person says, oh, there's some problem in my mind, I think I'm not feeling well, I'm emotionally not feeling well. And we just throw a word like, stay positive. Please stay positive. Nothing has happened. You have good family, you have good marks, you're getting everything, you have everything, you don't feel like this. So this is the major point. I think it all begins at your households. So it's so important to start rectifying those issues right at the beginning before they turn into something very serious. And also, if you're not feeling okay, I've written in the book also, it's absolutely okay to not feel okay. And it's absolutely normal to go seek help, to go to a doctor. If you can go to a doctor for your stomach ache, for your headache, it's absolutely normal to go see a therapist if you're not feeling emotionally well. And yes, so yeah, that's about it.
For the peek into your, writing this novel. And now I would invite Shalini if she has any questions to ask or something to say about it, since she has reviewed.
Yes, and I think one of the key questions she has already answered. I wanted to, in fact, know if the book, if it is autobiographical or if you have, if you've, derived from experiences of your close friends. You've told us already about it. But as I said in my review, Sujan, Avira is a bold woman who is uninhibited in expressing her feelings, even her passions. Is this a realistic depiction, according to you, of today's college and university women, or is it just fiction?
So it is actually a realistic depiction, ma'am, because I feel a lot of people, a lot of youth in India especially, they live a very pretentious life, so to say. Because once you see them at home, they are absolutely different in front of the people. Because again, you cannot let your real personality out in front of your parents or in front of your very close people. But once you're let out, you want your real personality to come out where you feel you're not judged. So that is where the entire contrast happens. So I feel a lot of people lead a pretentious life, but the moment they feel that, now I can be real, they let it all out. So I've seen it personally because, I was also shocked to see, because so many of my friends, they were absolutely shy, so to say. And then when the moment they got a chance to be themselves, I was like, okay, so is this what you really are? So yes, it's a realistic depiction because a lot of people are leading a very pretentious life. So yes.
Okay, but to tell you, it took me 2 sittings in a single day to read the book, and it is a compliment to you that my speed was not just guided by the professional considerations, but also because I found the book very interesting after the first 2 chapters. So how long was it in the making at your end?
It took me about 3 months to write this book because I was also working. I work as an HR manager, so I had crazy amount of interviews going on. We were hiring at that time from a college. So, and there were times when I myself, while writing this book, went into those emotional zones where I just couldn't pen anything down. So it took me about 3 months to pen this book down and to, and there was this ending, and I always believe in hope. So I just feel no matter what, there's always going to be hope. And while I was ending this book, I was in, 2 minds of how I want my character Avira to be in the end. So that kind of took me about, I would say, 20 to 25 days itself, the last bit of the chapter. And yeah, so 3 months in total.
Yeah, it's beautiful how you brought the 2 skies and waters initially when Aryan was with Avira to the point till the end, the climax, where you again bring that phrase of 2 skies and waters, which is actually the aspirations. It reflects the aspirations of Avira as well as you, Sirjan, right?
Right, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, tell me one more thing. Because you have experimented with poetry, you said that you wanted to see how this novel comes out. So what, as a writer, you find more engaging? Or are you still exploring a certain genre that you want to follow, even as a writer? Do you love this aspect of yours? Because you have that way you're exploring a lot of things professionally also. This is a beautiful outlet, I believe, for you too as an individual. But what is it that you're looking for in your future assignments or future projects?
So I remember when I wrote poetry, it was absolutely, without even thinking about writing, I just wrote a very, a random poem. I showed it to my dad and he was like, oh, you know what, let's send it to this newspaper. I was like, oh, whatever. We sent it and they published it. And that was when my confidence kind of I gained my confidence and I started writing poetry. But the moment I explored with writing stories, I feel my genre is going to stick to fiction, depicting the reality, because it's not going to be fantasy kind of a novel for me ever. I know for a fact. It's going to be fiction, but depicting the reality. And I absolutely enjoy it. If you see my phone, in my notes, there are a lot of times that I keep penning random things. If I just see, I don't know, a tree or a dog or whatever, I just write something about it because this is how my creativity kind of stems. And I see myself writing another one. So I don't set very long-term goals. That's about me. Even when I was being asked in interviews, I tell that I don't have long-term goals. I can think about 3 months from now. But I'm already working on my next book. It's again a fiction depicting the reality. And hopefully I'll be able to get it out next year or by next year end. But yeah, and when I talk about writing, even the feeling, sometimes I don't want to share with a lot of people. So what I do is I go to my notes, I put the date, and I literally talk to myself that, you know what, hey, I'm feeling like this today. You know what, but it's okay. It's going to be all right. I like stories because I feel stories, we tend to connect more to stories. So yeah, my genre is going to restrict to fiction and stories. Yeah.
I'm sure we are getting tips here. Isn't it, Satpreet? Aren't we getting tips here, especially the kids who are watching it, the students who are watching it? If they have any inclination towards writing, I'm sure Sirjan is really going to be a very, very inspiring person for them.
They already seem motivated, and I have some questions from them. And, you know, because we have not kept it open, so in the WhatsApp, I've received some questions. Sirjan, you need to answer them. I'm going to ask you on their behalf. The first question that I got from the students is, who is your inspiration?
My inspiration is my dad and my grandfather. I always tell them because I've grown up literally watching them write and talk about writing, and in my home itself, I've always seen an environment of academia, writing, literature. So yeah, my grandfather and my father, they inspire me. Even at this age, we tell my grandfather, you know what, it's time for you to rest. Just go to bed and rest for some time. Don't keep writing all the time. But he's like, you know what, this is my passion. Till the time I'm alive, I'm just gonna keep writing. That's all I'm gonna do. And he does it with so much passion, ma'am, because there are two things. One is your profession, and one is something that really naturally comes out of you. And I've seen him literally do that. So he inspires me so much. And so is my dad, because he's the one who tells me and actually shows me that there is no age or time to pursue anything that you want to. I saw him, at this age, holding a paintbrush and painting. And never, ever in his life, he ever held a brush and painted. And he was doing it so passionately. So these are the two people that inspire me to write.
So we can say it runs in the family and you have taken after them. Yes. Another question for you is, who are your favorite authors?
So, ma'am, to be honest, I'll be very honest. There was a time when I started reading Chetan Bhagat, and I was so crazy for the way he used to write. But not going to offend anyone in case anyone is a Chetan Bhagat fan. But by the time I, finally finished reading him, I realized there was so much repetition in the things, in the content that he was writing. But the way he used to write, the way he used to articulate his thoughts was something that really inspired me, because I want my readers to be able to understand what I'm writing. So I'm not going to write some really fancy language and all. So Chetan Bhagat, and I've really read literature, Shakespeare, all thanks to my grandfather, because he used to make us sit right from class 2nd and 3rd that start reading Shakespeare. So Shakespeare is someone that I still keep going back to, because the way he nurtured the characters, and now that we can use those characters as metaphors. So yeah, those two. But I've really stopped reading a lot. Now it's time for me to get back to reading as well.
I come to that point early. How much time do you spend,
these days for reading, you ask me?
For writing.
For writing. So these days, very honestly, I think I haven't written for like a month. Otherwise, in a day, I take about half an hour to an hour to write something, because there is something random. As I told you, I keep writing in my phone, and phone these days, we always stick with ourselves. So I take about half an hour to write anything. So it's not important that it be a topic, but I spend like half an hour.
Okay, another question. I am curious to know, is writing going to be your career, or would you be pursuing this passion on the side and hoping someday you would hit the jackpot?
So, ma'am, I ask this question to myself a lot of times when I'm going through that identity crisis kind of a zone. But so writing is something that I'm never going to stop, regardless of whatever profession I enter into. I deliberately chose HR because it also deals with a lot of human psychology in organizations.
Right.
So being in this profession has actually helped me understand more and more of human psychology in a very different context. And it's actually giving me insights into my writing journey. So writing is going to stick with me as my passion. And perhaps if I hit a jackpot, then who is to say? So yeah.
So there are certain questions coming up. Someone wants to know how important is it to read before writing? Then I also want to read the book. Is this available on any site? Yes, that is available on Amazon. And for the first question, I think you can answer.
I would say yes. I think when we start writing, it comes very naturally. When we start writing, if it is a very natural thing to you, you should be very original. But it's very important to read what other people are writing, because there are certain nuances to writing, the way you begin, the way you end. How do you switch from first chapter to another so that the reader does not lose interest? So I feel it's important to read as well before writing, because it gives you ideas and also helps you improve your very original and natural style. So yeah.
Another question follows. How do you select the character names for your novels?
It's a very funny story. It's just that I am very fond of names. So even in the family and around, if there's a baby born, they come to me and ask, "Oh, would you suggest a name?" So I just generally really enjoy these 2-3 names, and I've always liked these names. So I didn't really research too much into it, but I know Avira for a fact. It means intelligent, and wanted to name this character Avira because I've been fond of this name for the longest time, and I've been asking in the family to please keep this name for some baby. So I was like, let me keep this name for my baby, for my character, and that's why I named my character Avira.
Okay, Sirjan. One more question from my side. A writer is both a witness and a trendsetter. How much of both do you see in yourself?
I would say 50-50 as well, because I've literally witnessed, and I've also been in the entire journey myself. When I initially also said to Shalini ma'am that once you start writing, it's never really, a fiction is never really completely fiction, because then it becomes fantasy, right? So there are instances, there are a lot of nuances in the story that I personally witnessed as well. And there are certain instances which my very, very close friends of mine, which I would say also reflect, a personality of my own self in them. So yeah, both 50-50%. And I think it's going to remain the same in all the stories that I write, because they originate from your own experiences and from the experiences around you.
Okay, Shalini, do you have anything else to say? Or we can conclude and...
I think maybe you're on mute.
I'm sorry, the mic is off. I would like to ask Sirjan about the response the book has received so far.
Very good, ma'am. Actually, I was not really expecting so much love. So, I mean, of course, the friends, they are, I don't take their word, to be very honest sometimes, because the ones who are very close to you, they regardless praise your efforts. But as a matter of fact, I received a lot of messages in my Instagram folder. And one such message that actually made my day, and I felt that this book is a success for me now, is that this person, she was suffering from depression. She shared her entire story with me. I don't know her, but she said that she wanted to talk to me. And she said that she was suffering from depression for a long time. And she was going through that crisis of not being able to fall in love with herself. And then she did visit a therapist, which helped her heal a little. But then she said that once she read this book, she kind of felt that she was reading her own story. And, that was the time then she thanked me. I think about 10-15 times she literally thanked me, and I was in tears. I took a screenshot, I shared it with my father also, because that thing there itself kind of was a success for me. And people have been, and for a month I stayed in Amazon's top 100, which was a very, very big deal for me, because you have only like 20-25 friends who are going to purchase, but the fact that other people were ordering, it was really good. And a lot of youth, they are kind of relating to it. So the response has been touched with very, very good.
And so are you personally happy with the outcome? That is, would you like to revisit, revise a few parts of Avira's life? The story that you've narrated, are there parts of the book that you'd like to revisit again?
I think I'm personally satisfied with it. I don't think I would want to change anything in this novel except one or two technical errors that probably went out. But other than that, I think I'm fairly happy with the way it turned out, because it also kind of took me 3 months and then a lot of going back and forth, revisiting the end. So yes, I think I'm fairly satisfied with the way this book has come out to be.
So since I also saw a couple of questions here popping up from the students, and I think, Sirjan, it's very important to underline what exactly a writer, an aspiring writer, what the traits of an aspiring writer should be. That is, what are the things that, let's say, if I want to become a writer, what are the things that I should be careful about, the traits that I should have, or something that I can cultivate? Can you please enlighten us all on that?
I think the first and the foremost thing is, a lot of people, and it has happened also with some people questioning me in the Instagram folder as well, that I want to write, but I don't know how to begin. So they always ask how to begin. I always say that if there are any moments in your life, or you feel like writing anything, even if you don't have a plot, even if you don't have a storyline, always write it down then and there itself. If you can't keep a paper and a pen, everyone has phones these days. So always write any thought that you might have in your mind, right at that instance, even if it's an incident that's inspiring you, a character that's outside that's inspiring you. So first thing is to always write, regardless of how pathetic you think you are or how bad you think you are. Even I would say you're not, but just write. So that is the first thing, because I myself have written so many things which I now go back to, and I'm like, why would I even write this? Like, it doesn't make sense. But that kind of helped me, take a step further, because now I can actually see where I need to improve. So first and the foremost thing, and the most important thing, is to just write. Like, even if it makes no sense to you, always write. And again, going back to the question that was asked earlier, always read. I mean, now I've gone back from reading, but there was a time when I used to be a crazy person who used to read so many fiction novels. So it's important to read, because then once you've written something of your own, then you can revisit, read, and see, what can you do better? How can you start a book? How can you create the transition from one chapter to another? So these are the two very important things that I think are the foundations of the book.
Okay, and I'll add a third one here, which is to observe. Observe as much as you can, because this is something you mentioned in the beginning, that you need to see there are stories happening all around us. I'm sure that's the key here. Thank you very much, Sirjan. It was wonderful talking to you, and I give you my best wishes for all your future endeavors.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
I thank Shalini and Sirjan for making this session interactive. And I'm sure most of the questions that the audience is asking, the young students are asking, they are answered by the journalist as well as by the novelist. And Sirjan, we wish you good luck in your future ventures. Over to Professor Samratha for the next act. Thank you, ma'am. I would now request the HOD of the PG Department of English to grace the session with her kind remarks. Ma'am, please.
Once again, welcome to everyone. Author Sirjandeep Kaur Ubha has described the ordeal of the young in the present era. She vividly presents relationships in present times and also the global background through the travels of Avira. Sirjan has narrated how everyone is vulnerable to depression, and the only way to deal with it is to accept its existence, be patient, and fight it out with inner strength. And Ms. Shalini Verma has also done her best to critically analyze the novel and bring out the subtle nuances of the novel. Her honest review has helped create an interest in the minds of the audience, and her observation that one day we may see it in the form of cinematic adaptation is very really heartening. I wish Sirjan success in her writing career. We look forward to many more interesting reads in the future from her. And once again, congratulations, Sirjan. And another thing that I want to express is I express my deep gratitude to Ms. Shalini for sparing her valuable time and sharing her views with us and also our young readers. And once again, thank you very much, Ms. Shalini and Sirjan.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Over to Simrata.
Thank you, ma'am. It's my privilege to propose the vote of thanks on this inspiring and thought-provoking book review session. On behalf of the PG Department of English, I take this opportunity to express my gratitude to the Director Principal, Dr. Kashmir Singh, who is always encouraging and motivating us to organize such events, which are a great learning experience. Though, due to some preoccupation, he could not join us for this session. A special thanks to Dr. Ubha, the principal of Khalsa College, Patiala, for his gracious presence in this event. I thank and appreciate the young novelist, Ms. Sirjandeep Kaur Ubha. I'm sure that our students must have got a lot of inspiration from her to discover a writer within themselves. Thanks to the senior TV journalist, Ms. Shalini Verma, for such an engaging and insightful review. I would also like to thank Dr. Harveen Kaur, HOD of the Department of English, and all the faculty members of the department for their kind cooperation. I thank Professor Satpreet, Dean of Girls Students, for her efforts to convene this event. A love-filled thanks to our dear students for being such a wonderful audience and for the interesting questions. Thanks to all of you present in this session. And with this, we conclude our book review session. You all can leave the meeting now. Thank you.